Good morning. Good morning. How are you all? Welcome to this live stream. Just going to get the audio recording. Good morning. Welcome. How are you guys? Good to have you join. Welcome to episode 4 of the Checkin In podcast. Glad to have you guys join in. Hello. Welcome back, Board Vaccine. Good to see you. Good to see you, Julian. Hello. Good morning. How are you all? This is episode 4 of the Checking In podcast. And I keep on turning off my audio for some reason. So I just got to give it a moment to calibrate and then we can begin. But glad to have you guys join in. Today's question, good afternoon, Karen. Good to see you from the UK. Amazing. Okay, here we go. I am going to go ahead and get us all set up here. Hello, Ratwack. Good to see you, Luke. I'm feeling well. I have the kids with me. So we're going to hang out for a couple of days. So no work for the next couple of days, but nonetheless, good times for them too. So glad to have you guys join me for about a half hour is usually the length of the podcast here. I'm going to cue in my music here and we can begin. But glad to have you guys join in. Thank you for being here. And do chime in the conversation. I would love to hear from you guys as I announce our topic today. But let's go ahead without further ado. I've got my music cued here, I believe. Yes, there we are. Welcome. This is the Checking In podcast. Glad to see my familiar friends from TikTok, from Instagram, and of course, I've got the YouTube live stream rolling. Like I said, this is the Checking In podcast, episode 4. Today's question we're answering is, if you could only use 5 words, how would you describe yourself? 5 words, describe yourself, and go. That's what I'm planning to do today in this episode. This has been Checking In podcast where we grow together in our knowledge of ourselves, and we pursue our happiness by learning to be kind to ourselves. These are some fantastic things worthwhile practicing and yet difficult. They're not an easy thing to practice. And so I want to model what that looks like for you as I look at these self-reflective questions, consider them for myself, answer the question, and then encourage you guys to do the same as well. So I would love to read your thoughts in the chat as well. Julian says, may I interview you on my Instagram live? I would love that, Julian. Send me a private message and we can make some plans to connect that way. I'd be delighted. So thank you for joining again, though. Question today, 5 words describing yourself. I will consider, analyze the question, answer the question, and then encourage you guys to join me in answering it as well from your vantage point. It's good to see you all as well, Luke. I'm glad you're here. But thank you for joining episode 4. Today is July the 6th, 2021. And I am delighted to spend these next few moments with you guys. So without further ado, answering the question, if you could use only 5 words, how would you describe yourself? When I look at this question here, I realize it doesn't even give any parameters. You could use any words, right? And usually my mind goes to, what are the boundaries to this question? What are the limits that it asks me to consider, whatever it's asking me to consider? So this question is really open. It says, if you could only use 5 words, how would you describe yourself? And I'm thinking how for most of us, now I'm just making a stereotype guess here, most of us, myself included, once upon a time, would be thinking with words that describe ourselves that are more critical, perhaps. We'd be thinking in terms of, okay, 2 sides of answering this question. One, who am I telling my answer to? Is it someone that I trust or someone I don't trust? If it's someone you don't trust or you don't know very well, you're going to answer in a certain way than if it's someone that you know really well and trust, or if it's someone that, maybe is a counselor that's going to help you process some stuff. So there's 2 ways I see of answering this question. If it's the first category where you're answering this question to someone whom you're not sure what their intentions are, you're not sure what their motivations are for asking the question, and yet you feel compelled to answer, I think in that setting, you'd probably be answering a little bit more cautiously, saying, well, I think I'm nice. I think I'm gentle. You'd give your nice, presentable self, saying, here's some good things about myself. But if it's someone that you really trust, someone that you are saying, this person knows what's up with me. They know me really well to know when I'm not in a really good point. Then you might be more inclined to be honest and saying, I don't know why I keep on struggling in these areas. I think I'm a really angry person, and that kind of bothers me. You get a bit more raw. You get a bit more honest in the way you're reflecting on these 5 words that you might choose to describe yourself. And then if you're just asking yourself that question, you're standing in front of the mirror, you're looking at yourself and saying 5 words to describe myself. I think in that setting, it's a little bit different even then, because you're thinking more along the lines of, I'm not sure I really like what I see. And that last category is one of the most real presentations of how we're facing ourselves, I think. It's then that we look at all the flaws and say, I don't know why I am the way I am. That's just my thoughts on how most in society would be responding to this question based on how I understand the culture. Board Vaccine says he's got 100 thoughts going at once. But I get it. I get it. Himanshu says his 5 words be energetic, adventurous, lost, lazy, and kind. Look at that, 5 words, and you included both the good and the bad. So I love that, Himanshu. That's a reflective assessment that tries to take in both the amazing qualities about yourself, and even in taking those qualities, you're also saying, but here's also areas that I would say I have to grow in. Here's some things that I'm noticing, that I'm seeing on the horizon. So that's the challenge, especially knowing who you're talking to. And here's my 2 bits. I think it's really important that you should be careful who you're sharing these things with, because it is a legitimate thing to figure out, is this person a safe person? Is this a person that I can trust giving the real me as I share about what's really going on the inside, right? That's a totally legitimate point. So that's really important to consider. So, outside of knowing who you're talking to, I mean, limiting it to 5 words, for some that might be a challenge. For others, it might be like yeah, it's not simple. For some, they might be like, I can't even think of 2, let alone 5. And others would be like, Board Vaccine saying, I've got 100 thoughts going at once. I'm not sure I could like limit it down to 5. I appreciate the number that's given, just because it sets a tone of helping you prioritize out of those many things that you can consider, limiting it down to the most important 5, right? It almost helps you like prioritize and say, here's the ones that I think are really, really important. And love the setup, and keep doing your thing, says Timothy. Thank you, Timothy. I don't know if you remember congratulating my best friend for coming, says Alvskin. Hey, glad you're doing well. Glad you have people here to talk, and I hope you blow up soon. Thank you so much. I appreciate the love, you guys. So, as we were considering that question, I'm thinking of, I appreciate the number that's given, because it sort of like gives you a measure, saying here's the number that we're aiming for, which forces us to have the discipline of saying how many can we bring it down to. And so along those lines, Brittany, that's really kind of you. A pickup line is cheesy, and I appreciate cheesy pickup lines. So 5 words that describe yourself. And like I was saying earlier, I don't think it's a bad thing to consider having a mixture. On the one hand, if it's all good words that you're using to describe yourself, Nathan, we're streaming on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and you can find those links on these 2 platforms as well. On my YouTube, same handle at Biniam Masters. So that's where you can find me. As we're considering which words, I was going to say, I think it's helpful to choose a variety in those 5 words of both good points and challenging points. And why is that? Because I think as human beings, we are in a state of growth. I think we're growing individuals, and we're prone to change as well too. And as we're changing, it's really important for us to think about, which way are we changing into? Are we changing upwards, or are we changing downwards? Are we changing in a way that is reflective more of the person we want to become? Or are we changing in a way that our community and those around us do not appreciate our presence? And I think that's a really important consideration as well. So, um, 5 words to describe yourself. If you're choosing only bad qualities about yourself because you're really critical about yourself, I think that may be unhelpful and helpful because it doesn't help you have any forecast of optimism or growth going forward, which are really important qualities. I think these are really necessary. However, if it is all good, then you may be lulled into the perspective of saying, I've arrived, kind of thing. But what I want to encourage you to consider with me is part of growing together is how do we grow together in a way of saying, how can I become a better version of myself? By all means, reflect on the good qualities already that you have, but then also consider what other elements are helpful for me in moving forward to grow through. Because I think to be human is to grow. To be human is to fumble our way forward. To be human is to learn how to become a better version of yourself. That's how I understand my existence as a human being. And then I also like the latter part. And we're not describing someone else that we know really well saying, "Oh, I know that person's really." No, no, no. It's easy for us to like look at others and say, "I know where they're at." And it's easy for us to sort of like pass judgment, if you will, or critique other people's presentation of themselves. The real challenging part, dear friends, is how about yourself? How can you look at yourself and say, where do I do really well? And where am I needing areas of improvement? That's a really important element as well. So that is the final challenge I'd say is we're not talking about other people, including your siblings. We're not talking about your family members. We're not talking about your friends or even political figures or people that we know really well. We're looking at ourselves. And sometimes the most courageous thing we can do, the most difficult, challenging thing we can do is look at ourselves in the mirror and give ourselves um, a really good um, once over. And I say that's a challenging thing because for so many of us, we haven't had the chance to consider where we're at. Because sometimes when we do so, when we look at ourselves, it can be a scary picture. It can be a scary picture as you look in the mirror and we say, I'm not sure I'm really thrilled by what I see in the mirror because I know myself so well. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with I'm not sure I'm comfortable with what I see because there's a mess. And so maybe we need some help. Maybe we legitimately need some help in coming up with some good things about ourselves. So I think there are individuals like that who do struggle in significant ways when they look at themselves and say, oh man, this is a tough one. So, can I give you a disclosure that this is a really challenging exercise when you do it honestly, when you look at yourself? Here I am looking at my image in the camera as I talk to you guys, and I'm appreciative of you guys chiming in. I love you guys' participation in this. My reason for doing this is to encourage you guys, but that is a challenging element to say, how can I do this when it can be scary when I see myself in the mirror? And because it's such a scary proposition, many people just kind of don't do this at all. And so they move away from the opportunity to do so. And it's easier to deflect your attention and look elsewhere, look at others, look at stuff that you find fun. And so let me commend you. This is kudos to you for like trying to do this. If you'd like help doing this, I would be more than happy. Like I say, I'm doing this because I want to grow. I want to increase my happiness, and I want to learn to be kind to myself. And sometimes we don't know how to do one or all of those three things well. And so, if you're having trouble, shameless plug here, check out my website, BennyMasters.com. Reach out to me there, and I'd love to partner with you in helping go through this process in a way that doesn't have to feel scary. But I would love to encourage you that way. So let me jump into my answers now. I've finished analyzing the question, saying, here's why I like this question. I like this question for a variety of reasons. One, the number forces us to be disciplined to limit it down from all the many considerations in describing ourselves to five. But what are the five most important ones? Now, I've not had time to think about my five. So you're going to be watching me doing this from scratch. I haven't given any thought to this before. And so this will be kind of fun for me. And you'll see my process of how I'm doing this and maybe hopefully be helped in your own process. Secondly, I also appreciate that this could include both good qualities and challenging qualities, areas of growth, if you will. And I appreciate that this is something that helps us grow in our awareness of ourselves and how we're going forward. Which way are we going to be striking as we go forward in the future? And then finally, this is a gutsy thing because, oh man, like to look at oneself in the mirror and to be open to considering areas of growth is not an easy thing. So, hats off to you guys for joining me in this exercise. You don't have to feel compelled to write your answers down. I'd love to read them if you feel comfortable doing so. But if you want some help doing this, again, please reach out to me. My website's binnymasters.com. I'd love to hear from you. But let me jump into my answer. Here's how I would respond to this question. Using only 5 words, how would I describe myself? Hmm. One, let me start off with the good qualities. It's always encouraging to start off with the good qualities, okay? And I'm having to like limit it down to the most important 5. One I would say is really important to me, and that is I'm transparent. Transparency is something that I have not had for a very long time in my life. In fact, I haven't practiced it. I haven't seen it being modeled. I've fumbled royally at this, and I've hurt so many good people in my life as a result of not doing this well. But transparency is a really, really important one for me. Transparency. Um, Another word for transparency in the way I'm using it is honesty, integrity. Like those are all sort of part of the same camp when I think of my first quality that I'm thinking about. And I'm just in a point in my life now where I really value being honest about the way I connect with my world externally and also how I'm thinking internally. There's a consistency from the inside here, externally outside, and that is super important for me there. So transparency is the word that I think of saying, can I be honest with the world around me about how I really think, how I really feel, how I really want to operate, how I want to engage and connect with others? This is so important for me. I really value this element of saying, can I come and connect with someone in a real way whereby the connection is for the right reasons. That is so important for me. So transparency is probably my first word. Number one, transparency. I've had to work hard to get to this place of transparency. And so that's probably why I listed as number one in my list because I value it so highly. When I'm connecting with people, when I'm connecting with you guys, even for example, I want to know that I'm having integrity in the way I share myself with you. I'm sharing my ideas. I'm sharing things about myself and my life with you. I want to have a really good foundation of honesty, of transparency, of integrity as I connect with you guys so that you know that when I'm speaking something, that you guys can take it to the bank. And that helps build trust, right? That helps build trust with you guys and with those that I'm connecting with over the long haul. One of the challenging things for us in life is knowing who are our safe people. And you are so holy. It makes me say better. Oh, happy. You're so happy. It makes me whole say better. I'm glad. Your mindset's amazing, says Luke. Thank you, Jenny and Luke. You guys are kind. Second word to transparency that I would choose for myself is I think I am kind. Kindness is really important for me. Kindness is really important. In fact, I have whole day. I see. Thank you, Jenny. I understand your point. Um, Kindness is my second word that I choose. In fact, I've chosen the word kindness as my brand that I want to represent in my business. In fact, I call myself a kindologist. That's what I call myself. Why? Because I want to be held accountable for the way I engage with people, how I connect with people, how I invest in their lives. I want to do that well. I want to do that from a place where they feel holistically honored. Kindness covers so many things. So my first 2 words I've covered are transparent. I think I'm transparent. Second, I've said I am kind. That's a really important word. Now let me think about the third word here. Just give me a quick sec here while I reflect, because this is getting ready for Stampede. It will be. Yes, you're totally right, Ramon. I'm saying Glad to see you, Nick Daniel. Do you remember? Car, I do remember you. Thank you for chiming in. I'm glad to have you guys joining. And we're answering the question on my podcast. Your 5 words to describe yourself. It's my turn. I'm going right now. I have chosen transparency. I've chosen kindness. The third quality that I'd say that is a good quality that I appreciate about myself, I think I am fair. I'm going to use this word fair and explain why I use the word fair. I use the word fair because I want to I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. It's my way when I use the word fair of saying I don't understand the intentions that you're coming to the table with. And usually, when we're having a good rapport, it's like, not bad deal, right? We're enjoying, we're vibing. There's no challenge when we're getting along really well. But when we have conflicts, when we have disagreements, when we have things that just don't line up, hey, Julian, you can send me a private message whenever. I'll be able to get out when I get a chance in between hanging out with the kids. So I'll definitely respond to you. By all means, send me one. Patch Adams, Valerie, you totally remember me for the old days. So it's good to see you. Luke, hello. Yes, so I would say fair is my third word because I don't know the intentions of someone, especially when we're in the midst of a disagreement, in the midst of um, something that we don't quite see eye to eye on. In that setting, when we don't, I want to be fair to that individual because the easy way to do things is to write them off, right? The easy way is to sort of jump to conclusions on their behalf of what their intentions were and to totally rip them apart in some way. And that's the easy way that most people choose to take. And I refuse to take that because what I need to acknowledge is that this individual, this person that I'm interacting with, has intentions. They have motivations that I don't have access to. And if I write them off by jumping to conclusions on their behalf, it's not being fair to them because they may have good ones or bad ones, right? And so what I want to do there is ask them more questions. I'd want to say, help me understand where this is coming from. I want to be fair with you. Here's how I literally go into my disagreements with people. I literally go in like this. I come to them and say, here's the narrative or the story that my mind is spinning for me that makes me believe that you're in the wrong in this area. Let's say they said something to me that I found offensive. I'll say, hey, my mind wants me to think that you did that on purpose. I don't want to think that if that's not the truth. But when I think about what you said and the way you said it, my mind is saying, of course he was doing this for the wrong reason. And so I want you to know that my mind is telling me a story that I don't want to believe. I want to give you the opportunity to help me hear a different story of why you did that. Maybe my mind is right, maybe it's wrong, but I want to give you the courtesy of being able to give a defense on your own end. Do you see how I'm doing that? I'm putting the power back into their corner and saying, help me understand something that is beyond my understanding here. And along those lines, I want to give them that benefit of the doubt. And I think this is a really important part for me in being fair is I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. I want to try work hard. And this is hard work, by the way, for me. And for anyone who plans to do this, it's hard work to believe the best of an individual, especially when you're not inclined to do so. It's hard to be able to say, I'm going to try and think the best I can for why you did something, even though I may not understand it. I may even disagree with it at the end of it. Um, and along those lines, then that's when I feel that I'm being fair. I think it's unfair for me if I just jump to the conclusions and then start talking about them bad. That's called gossiping. If I start ripping apart the reputation based on what I think without ever hearing that that was the case. Now, when I give them the benefit of the doubt, they still have the opportunity now to be able to interact with me and say, how's this? Is the mic now low or are you hearing me okay now, Yusuf? Thanks for the heads up on that. What's up, Benyam? Do you remember I used to be your TikTok Uber live stream? It's me, Ellie. Ellie, good to see you. And Julian, by all means, feel free to message me on Instagram. Yes. How's it going? You're my favorite. Thank you. I appreciate that love. And good to see you, Hyder. How are you? Ben, your English is excellent. When did you come to Canada? When I was 8 years old. My goodness, this is turning out to be like our former lives where I was just kind of free flowing. But again, why I value being fair is because that way I think I'm being honest with an individual and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. So, what's the thing in the bottom right of the screen? I don't know. Like right here, this is my mic. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. So, um, let me move on to the final two. Now, I chose three good ones on purpose. Why? Because I want to encourage myself. I don't want this to be discouraging. If you're choosing four challenging ones and one good one, that could be a challenging uh, place to be because you're seeing a lot more work. It's a tough thing for us to look for good things in ourselves. And so I wanted to prioritize the good things that I value about myself: transparency, kindness, and being fair. Those are three things that I value tremendously. And then I chose the minority to be the two areas that I am struggling with. So, two areas that I'm struggling with. Now, this might surprise you guys, but this is me. And I'm trying to be honest about how I'm answering this question. The fourth thing I'd probably say, and an area of challenge that I want to work on, is I want to grow in patience and what that looks like. Sometimes I can be short on patience. Sometimes, and especially the better you know me, I can be short on patience where I kind of want things to happen right now, you know? Let me give you an example. Sometimes with my really close friends, when we have a really big disagreement, that we're having a conversation or a discussion, or some would say an argument, I'm really good at my skills with English and putting ideas together. And so I can go on a rat a tat bang bang really fast progression of laying out my argument and questioning and so on like that, that the person I'm talking to feels overwhelmed and they're like, and so I know this is an area that I need to grow in, where I exercise patience in those contexts where I ask one question at a time instead of a brrr, and they're like, oh my goodness, I just feel like I've been buried under this huge slab of cement, that was really heavy. So I can become overbearing like that and lacking patience. And so that's one area that I want to grow in. Another area that I think I want to grow in personally, is balance. Balance, because I struggle in this area. Sometimes I work so hard. Actually, no, I work hard a lot of times. I've always been a really hard worker. I think those who know me really well are like, Biniam, you're a really hard worker, and you just push yourself. And I still push myself sometimes, just because I can. I push myself with all the work that I'm trying to like get done. And um, balance is important for me to remember, because easily I can lose balance and just go on the full on work mode and not take time off for myself and relaxation and resting. And so that's important, I think, for me personally. And that's something I want to be aware of. So, along those lines, balance for me looks like taking the time out intentionally, spending time with friends today, spending time with the kids. I've got the kids with me here for a couple of days, so I'm so thrilled about that. When I'm with the kids, part of the way I practice balance is I don't go to work. I just don't want to work, unless the kids are coming with me and we're doing deliveries for Uber Eats or something like that. I want to spend time with the kids. I want to be a present dad in their lives, and so that's really important for me. And so along those lines, thank you for the roses there, Josh. Along those lines, that's something that I want to work on intentionally. So those are my five areas that I had to narrow it down to. My first one was transparency or integrity or honesty, which I really value. The second one was kindness. My third one was what did I say? Oh yeah, being fair. My third was being fair. My fourth one was patience, and my fifth one was balance. So those are my five areas of things that words that I would use to describe myself, and areas that I want to grow on, and areas that I think I'm doing really well. Thanks, Nick. Now, let me throw it to you guys. If you feel comfortable, by all means, throw in your suggestions. I gave some prerequisites to consider before answering this question. One of those was that, let me try to think, what were my three things that I prefaced this with? First of all, I was saying 5 words causes us to exercise discipline, and narrowing it down, if we have so many, 5 most important things, right? Secondly, I was looking at this and saying it could be both good and bad, and that's not a bad thing, because it helps us learn how to assess the good parts and how we can grow. And then there's a third one, which I'm trying to remember off the top of my mind, but I can't, which is quite all right, because you can check that out on the replay, both on Instagram, the Instagram recording, the YouTube video that's going to be posted, or on my podcast that this is being recorded on. Friends, the reason I do this program The reason I am doing this episode of the Bin Checking In podcast is for three reasons. One, I'm trying to figure out how I can grow as an individual, and I want to invite you to grow with me. Secondly, I love expressions of kindness, and that's why I call myself a kindologist. And I want to show you how I can be kind to myself and how you too can be kind to yourself as well as you grow by asking these questions. And so I think that's important. And the third thing is because I love being happy, and I find happiness usually is accessed by me thinking through these elements for myself and what that could look like. Now, happiness is the thing that so many of us want to experience in our life in greater proportion, and that's not a bad thing. So, what I've done on my website is I've put together a little mini course on how I experience happiness. I experience happiness in a very specific way. If I could give you the best insights, that's what I've done in this mini course, and it's up for free for you guys. Come to my website, sign up for it. It's called How to Truly Be Happy Without Faking. And I'd love for you to experience that happiness. But disclosure, it's not easy what I'm sharing with you. It's hard work. But what good thing in life is not hard work, right? So I'd love for you to benefit from this free resource. I would love to partner with you in growing in this experience of happiness. I want you to experience what that really looks like. And I would love for you to experience what that true, deep, foundational happiness looks like. The kind that's consistent, the kind that's abundant, and the kind that continues to give back. It's intentional. But that's my desire for you. So feel free to check out my website and download that free resource. Let me know how you found it, if it was helpful. Again, it's not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are serious about it. But I would so like that for you. Consider this question today as you're going through your day. 5 words to describe yourself. Choose good in the midst of challenging as well. And consider with gratitude, being thankful for how you've grown to be an amazing person with your 3 good qualities that you're choosing for yourself. And then think about how you want to grow to the next better version of yourself as you're considering the areas of challenge. That's worthwhile. Listen, my friends, it was so good to spend a few moments with you this morning. I'll be back again tomorrow, answering another deep question that helps us grow in our in our existence, pursue our happiness, and be kind to ourselves. Love you guys. I will see you soon. Let me say bye first to my audience on TikTok. TikTokers, you've been so great. I love the way you're interacting with me. I'll check base with you guys tomorrow. I appreciate and love you guys. Leave me comments. I appreciate you guys. And then next, I'll say goodbye to my Instagram feed. Thanks, guys, for chiming in. K-Man, love having you here for the last little bit. Thank you for being here. I will see you all tomorrow. Much love. My YouTube audience, love you guys. Thank you for being here and chiming in. This, by the way, is an Apex 747 mic. Apex 747 Tipsy is the name of this mic here. It's a fantastic mic, isn't it? I will see you guys tomorrow. Love ya. And of course, those on my recording here, I want to thank you for listening in and being